Welcome back to 5 Minute Deck Breakdowns, and up today is what I'm calling Yeti Reputation. So the concept of this deck really is I want to make a Yeti deck, and I want to swing with giant 5 attack Frost Giant looking Yetis, and to do that, I think it pairs pretty well with Reputation, which is something that will get reduced cost as you strike with 4 or more 5+ attack units. Um, Obviously, we're not running a ton of Reputation cards here. I'm really just running Incisive Tactician and Whispered Words, but there's other 5 attack flavored cards that go with that aren't technically Reputation cards, like the Trifarian Assessor and Reckoning, which Reckoning is a huge card to help us completely remove the entire board, other than ideally ours, as well as the Trifarian Assessor giving us plenty of draw along with Whispered Words. So this concept is pretty funny. It's mainly just a big Yeti deck here. Trundle was recently buffed, and he is just sitting as a solid 5 attack or 5 cost unit who will get up to 5 attack once he's leveled. And we just want to swing with a giant mid-range deck, make sure we're hitting their Nexus as hard as we can between turns 4 and 7, and win the game before it gets too late. So we're obviously using the Ancient Yeti, the Indomitable Guardian, the Yeti Yearling, Avarosan Trapper, and even the Tall Tales on the spell side. So we really want to get those Yetis out onto the board and start swinging damage, and then use the Incisive Tactician in order to rally on around turn 6 to 8 to end the game there. Also, Battle Fury can help us sneak an extra 8 damage through to the Nexus on one of our unblocked massive Yetis. So this deck is a mid-range beatdown deck to the T, and that's all it is. And there's plenty of other things you can do with it, but first I want to talk about really what are the mulligan tips here. We really want to see the Yeti Yearling and Tall Tales. Those are, I mean, if we start with that, it's an extremely strong curve because we can play Yeti Yearling on 1, and by turn 3 we can do a Tall Tales, which will give us a guaranteed 5/5 summon on board. Avarosan Sentry and the Trapper are both super solid as well. Obviously, the Trapper will get us an additional Yeti pretty quickly, which is really important. And Troll Chant is the other spell that you can consider keeping if you have 1 or 2 early units. It's a pretty expensive deck. We really don't want to keep Trundle. We really don't want to keep Invisive Tactician, but you can keep the Ancient Yeti. That thing will reduce its cost as you go. So if you do have like a 1 or 2 drop, I would keep the Ancient Yeti. If it's in your starting hand, you can play it on turn 4 as a 5/5 with Overwhelm, which is great. Or if you have your 4-drop ready, you're not really worried about that. If you have what you want to do on turn 4, you can save it and then play it on turn 5 or 6 for even cheaper. So that one's pretty good. And then again, Indomitable Guardian is also another one where you can consider keeping, but it's a little cheeky. You need to have some Yetis out, and then it will automatically summon. So if you have a really good starting hand with like 2 Yeti Earlings, then yeah, you want to keep the Indomitable Guardian. But if you don't, it's pretty risky to keep that card. You normally want to kind of get him out as like, if the turn's passing to you, he comes on the board because you already have a couple Yetis around turn 6 or so, and then you can open swing with a bunch of 5/5s. That's really the goal there. So the strengths, it's just really good against like control decks that can't deal with wide and healthy units, right? If everything has 5 health mostly, so it's hard to just remove all of that with something like a Withering Wail or a Make It Rain. So it's really good into things like that. Not so good into aggro. We don't really have any way to heal. We have Reckoning, which can really help remove everything, but if we don't see it or if we don't have the perfect timing for it, we're going to get ran down really, really hard. But it's also a very solid deck into other mid-range decks because it is just so thick. Now, they might have a lot more combat tricks and a lot more fancy things they can do, but we might be able to just outvalue them from the get-go. So the flex spots, there's a bunch. I mean, some people don't really like the Tactician here for the rally. I think it's a cheeky card, but it's won me a lot of games, so I personally like it. You don't have to run any freezes. You don't have to run Harsh Winds or Flash Freeze if you don't like. I think they do help against other mid-range decks, so you can get even more value in your trades, or against aggro decks to try to just simmer down how much damage you're taking, say from like a big elusive swing or just an early swing that you don't have any draw. You can just Flash Freeze them out, which is really solid. Other than that, I don't see that there's a whole lot. I mean, Battle Fury, again, is I think it's really important, but people would consider that a flex spot as well. You can try throwing LeBlanc in here or other Reputation-style cards, and that would be quite a fun way. Or you can just go even harder into the Yeti package there a little bit with more Freljord cards. Hopefully this helps you pick up the deck and give it a couple runs. It's quite a fun deck if you're looking for a change of pace and you're looking for a really strong mid-range deck. So if you've enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a subscription, and leave a comment. Till next time.